Welcome to GA325 Corporate Campaigns. This is week 3. This week we are going to discuss text blocks and alignments and page composition. So if we look at alignment of textbooks, the next steps in publication design is to arrange the running text blocks, negative space around the type, layout of text areas and imagery, and overall visual quality. When using justified alignment, designers can use a wider paragraph lengths to reduce rivers and avoid a jumbled appearance. As you can kind of see here, what we have is a rag, and a rag is the term given to the uneven lines on the opposite side of left or right aligned type. So if we look down at the left alignment there, we notice everything is flush left. As you can see, a nice clean straight line down the left side, and the rags would be considered this uneven line that goes around the right side, and the same with the right flush text. As you can see, the uneven line around the left. So the goal is to try to minimize that as much as possible. And, it's not going to be a perfect line unless you're doing a justified alignment. As you can kind of see on the bottom right corner here, justified alignment has the left side completely aligned with a nice straight line, and so does the right side. However, what happens is you get rivers, and rivers are the spaces between the words, because it's got to make up that space somehow, and so it increases or decreases the amount of space between words. Could affect readability a little bit, but you're sacrificing the space between words so that you can have them perfectly aligned. And that's something that you see more in newspapers because they are really text heavy, and they're trying to cram a lot of different articles onto a page, and you need that to be clean and to be able to help separate them from the other one from the other. So it gives it a little bit more of an organized type of look. All right. Next slide. Ragged aspects. So ragged edges create an interesting contrast to the opposite even edge of the column. Ragged edges that are too indented or irregular are visually undesirable. And avoid bad rags by adding more leading or rebreathing lines manually, or adjust the hyphens. So as you can kind of see in this example here, you have that same amount of text there, and first on the left side, it might be if you copy and paste the text into a text box and do a left alignment, it might automatically go in there like this. Look at how those rags are. I mean, there's quite a good contrast between it. Not very good, right? You want to try to minimize that. So you might have to go in there manually and make some adjustments to minimize them. You're not going to be able to get rid of them completely due to the fact that it's left alignment, but you want to try to minimize that so it's not so abrupt and it just has a better overall visual appeal. Typographic components. Centering of a headline creates a passive type of layout. Again, people say, well, if you want to emphasize something and your main title is usually the emphasis, put it right there in the middle. It is one way of emphasizing, but again, there's other ways that you can do the same and have a little bit more of an impact. So moving the headline either to the left or to the right, or up above at the top. Usually we start from the top down reading, so usually your eye gravitates towards the top. However, you can still be creative and put it on the bottom, and if it's thick enough and it's big enough, it'll still be able to grab that attention right away. And that's when we talk about these titles. Usually, you know, that should be your first attention grabber. So you got to use some things to emphasize it. But again, be creative where you place it, because you could still get that emphasis. Page composition. Passive composition has all elements, text, images, and shapes of the same size or proportion. Active composition uses a variety of proportions, sizes on the page. Again, as you can see, you have a shape at the top, and you have the main title in the middle, and then you have your block of text below it. They're all about the same size. Even though, you know, the word in the middle there, right, the big title is bigger, you can kind of see that that's more emphasized. But, you know, be a little bit more creative when you bring in different elements. You don't want them all to be about the same size, because what it does is it takes away from the emphasis of certain objects. Your goal is to kind of think about, okay, I have, let's say in this case, 3 elements on the page. What should I want my audience to look at first, second, and then third? And you want to basically create the difference in sizes that way to kind of help guide their eye through that design. Place text box, headlines, and graphic elements in asymmetrical positions on the page. A variety of sizes of both elements and the space around them will activate a layout visually. So don't think that your whole design has to be symmetrical and balanced on each side, right? You know, look at these examples here too, right? You have, you know, a big chunk of your text on the left side. I'm talking about the left example here, right? And then on the right side, you have a big thin bar of, or I guess you could say it's a thick bar shape. And then in there is a picture, and then you got your headline at the top. Look at the one on the right. This is done even better, and it's kind of a similar type of layout where it has most of the text onto the left side, right? But then it's got, you know, a big colored bar on the right with some small images that go down, photographs that go down vertically. Also look at that bar on the very bottom, the horizontal, how it comes over, and it overlaps too. Feel free to overlap things. Again, you just have to be careful, because you don't want to overlap certain texts that might be words that you need to read, and then you're hiding a letter or something like that. But you know, overlapping kind of helps create a unity and connection to everything. So keep that in mind. Asymmetrical arrangements of type, images, and format edges enlivens the page and encourages the audience's eye. Creating tension between positive and negative shapes on a page adds excitement to the layout, and areas of overlap create complex relationships. Here's another example of those overlaps too. We have a really big image there, photograph that has some text around it, and that's kind of like your main emphasis. Look how much bigger that is than everything else, right? Then the second thing that the audience, or that the designer wants the audience to see, is that main title. Look how big that title is too, and you can tell it's a right alignment, and it's nicely aligned to the right side of the page, and kind of even with that body text, as you can see below. And then it even overlaps the image, and notice when it overlaps the image, it's not hiding any of the letters, and it's not overlapping like her, or one of the main parts of the image. It's overlapping some of the negative space of the image. And so that helps kind of connect it too. Notice the color as well. You got the black color of her gown, and then you also have the gold from the little tassel there. Another great way to connect imagery by taking colors from a photograph and using them for the text and the shapes. As you can see, that shape above it too has that same gold color. And then notice the text inside there. Instead of making it black, they made it white. Gives it a little bit better contrast. And then you have your body copy below there, and there's a good amount of negative space, white space below it. The page break would also be right here at the line of the gold part. So when you break that photo too in between the page break, you're not losing any major information. You still see her face. That's important. You wouldn't want the page break to be right in the middle of her face. That wouldn't make sense. And you wouldn't want the page break to also be down the middle of important text. So notice how all that text is shoved to the right side of the page.